Okay, before we get started, I think I'd like to do a little prayer here in the language, start off in a good way and say some words and some ask for some blessings for y'all and good things like that. Mamo Gosnan, we the last Diego Coab Meshna, go to Majik, Kamajishno, Shoda, Odajo Pingo. Migwech Jock Chicago, God Yishtoyan, Mina Minogishkit. Coabum Gi Kekyajak, Mina Pinojak, Mina Shamaganeshik, Mina Yaknogajak, Mina Jayak Nishnabek, Nakmakshna Edneswat. Menato Jeeptibin Wetchmokek, Menato Jeeptibin Wetchnowquek, Menato Jeeptibin Wetchbukeshmok, Menato Jeeptibin Wetchkasenyak, Sagamakwe, Mishokijak, Jayak, Menadok, Nakmakshna Edneswat. Mamagosnan Nijok Meshin Wajimano, Menokeromage Yango, Navagosinjage, Gorumajik Wajan, Edap Nawat on it, or the body wat be one. Zinegit nan Gorgan, Nesja, Windpish, Nijok Mo, Gorvamazajuk, Windpish, Wegwindet, get Kendas what, Edap Nawat on it, or the body wat be one. Aha, Ayachmon, yo. Ask the creator to make it easy on you guys, make it easy for you to pick it up and learn it. So we can always use a few words of encouragement and some well wishes and a prayer to help hopefully send us down a good way. So okay, so I got a couple of things today. I got this conversational manual, and I thought we would go through some of these sentences. That way we could just kind of refresh our minds but before we do that, let's see real quick here. If you guys remember some of those who, what, when, where words. Okay. I can feel the fear as I speak. So Weknija, what is that? What is Weknija? I think if I said Weknija, Gaja Webuk. Weknija. What is Weknija? Weknija, Gaja Webuk. What happened? Weknija, Gaja Webuk. What happened? Okay. What if I said Wenija? Maybe I said Wenija Okwe. Wenija Okwe.
What is it?
I heard two people. Who is that? Who is that woman? Okay. I think I heard almost all three of y'all jump in there. I couldn't determine which one to. That's okay. Wenija. Who? Wenija Okwe. Who is that woman? What if I said Nipija? Like I said, Nipija Asiayan. No. Nipija. Where? There it is. Where? Nipija. That's okay. Nipija. Where? The one you're thinking of is Nijetso. How much? Nijetso. Nijetso to Bugnack. What time is it? Nijetso to Bugnack. What if I said Nija Wawajandayan or Bukonyak. Nija Waja Wajandayan or Bukonyak. Nija. How or what? And you actually answered the whole thing. What are you cooking? What are you going to cook for dinner? What? Okay. Well, oh man, that's what happens when you sit next to the teacher. See, man, it's like bam. She said, "What are you going to cook this evening?" Yes, ma'am. Next thing, it's a circle the wagon, circle around here. Good, yeah. So what are you gonna cook? Because it means both, Paul. You were correct when you said how. That's the one that means how or what. And so the way I used it was maybe a little more like how, more like what. Because she was like, "What are you gonna cook this evening?" Because I said Nija Waja Wajandayan Ona Pukonyak. So what are you going to cook this evening? Ona Pukonyak. So what about what if I said Nijawi? Nijawi Emajian. Nijawi. Which one?
Why are you going?
Why are you leaving? That means pretty much in English it's the same thing. In English we kind of use leave and go the same way. So it means if you said why are you going, that's the same thing really. I mean, why are you leaving? Nijawi Nijui majian. Why are you leaving? How could we change that to why is he or she leaving? Nijui, what? You say nay? Nay makes it a question, a simple question, yeah, but we need to change it to he or she is leaving, so majit. Majit. So Nijui Majit. Why is he or she leaving? Nijui Majit. Okay, man. Okay, let's get into our manual now. We'll get into some fixed sentences rather than me just jumping around in the air. So it's a little bit easier when it's fixed down. So flip your book to, we're gonna get past some of this intro stuff here. We're gonna go to page, we'll start again on the page that starts with going places. It says, Nija Epichiak. Nija Epichiak. And let me real quick here, let me see if these folks online, if there is anybody online, it's just that random Migze, strange guy, Migze on that. Biwap Kosek on his phone. Now we got 4 people in there, so we got a few people. Let's see what we got here. Bojo. Okay, yeah, we got a few people in there. It's good. Oh man, what happened? What happened to my scan? Okay, let me find my screen. Tell you, technology, it's a challenge some days. Okay, there we go. Still sharing my screen. Oh, my screen share is paused. Let's go back and share my screen again. There we go. Okay, I need to get this to close. There we go. I'm going to use this one up here so that you guys can see it up here, but also that way the people online will see what I'm talking about too. So let me just jump ahead here to, so there's our 2, real quick here. Let's do a quick recap, if you will. It's always good to do a recap. So you have the independent and you have the conjunct. Now the independent is what we make most of our statements in. So namaji, I leave. Gamaji, you leave. Maji, he or she leaves. Namaji men, we but not you leave. Gamaji men, we all leave. Gamajim, you all leave. Majik, they leave. This is also how we ask simple questions. Now, what you were saying with that nay, that's how we would ask a simple question. So if we said Gamaji ne, would be, are you leaving? Gamaji ne. Or if we said Maji ne okwe, is that woman leaving? Maji ne okwe. Now, what's the difference with that we but not you? Does anybody recall what the difference is there between we all and we but not you?
Inman.
What? Inman?
The in.
Oh, yeah, that's the difference. But what do we mean in like English side? What do we mean with, like, what's the difference, I guess, from like saying, hey, yeah, basically you're leaving, exactly. You're leaving somebody out of the equation, the person you're talking to. So if I said Namajiban to you guys, I would be, or if I said it to you, I'd be saying everybody else is leaving, but you're not. So same thing, if I did Dwight, I'd be excluding him out of the conversation. In English, the way that we do that is a lot of times by tone. Sometimes it's even by gesture, because if I said to you guys, hey, we're gonna go to the store, you might be like, oh, okay. I'm like, no. We are going to the store. I only got so many seats. It's gonna be Dwight, Paul, y'all are gonna have to stay. But I would have to then say that again and probably motion with my hand to be like, hey, we're Potawatomi, you already know you're excluded or included. There's no beating around the bush. And that's one way I think our language is a lot more direct sometimes. English often really beats around the bush about stuff. With Potawatomi, you know where you stand, right? From the get-go. Okay, I'm not going. No hurt feelings, I'm not going. Cool, whatever, and then the conjunct mode. And with that one, everything about who's doing it's on the end of the verb. So Maji Yan, I leave. Maji Yin, you leave. Majit, he or she leaves. Maji Yak, we but not you. Maji Agol, we all. Maji Yuk, you all. And then Maji Wat, they. So again, with the conjunct, all the information is on the back end of the verb. Now, when would we use the conjunct? Any thoughts? When we would use the conjunct, maybe? One place that you have to use the conjunct is if you have those more complicated who, what, when, where type questions. So if I ask you, why are you leaving? When are you leaving? The verb is going to be in this conjunct form. So when I said, why is she leaving? Nijawi majit okwe. I can add the okwe on there if I want to make sure you know it's her. Because again, it's he or she is leaving. Depends what you're talking about. If I said to you, like you said, I said, what are you cooking for dinner? Nija waja wajanda yin. There's what are you doing? That's the yin. If I said, what are they cooking for dinner? Nija waja wajanda what? What are they cooking? So you just change the Indian at the back part. So that's why I always tell people that these are really good to memorize, because it will help you so much if you know the endings and you know the other side, you know the fronts, the n, the g, nothing on it, the n, the min, the g and the min, the g and the m, and then the k. If you know all these conjugations right here, then all you got to do is focus on the verb. Okay, what verb did I hear? I heard a yawn. I know it's me involved. What was the verb? Boom. So it really helps to know those. The same with the who, what, when, wheres. Knowing those can be really helpful too. Because if I said to you, Wenija Jeep Tibet G. Wenija Jeep Tibet G. Okay. So you hear Wenija, and because you know that real well, you know, okay, that's who. Jeep Tibet is the verb to sit. But you know your endings, you heard the T at the end, Jeep Tibet. So you know it's he or she. And then you just got to focus on, okay, what's that G? That means there. So who is sitting there? Wenija Jeep Tibet she. Who, he or she is sitting there. What you'd be saying. Wenija Jeep Tibet she. Same thing though, if you can just focus in on those. You learn those who, what, when, where, and you get them really good. You get your endings real good. Then it's just a matter of learning vocab, adding verbs to it. And a lot of times in the context, it makes sense. Because you can hear a verb that you've never heard, and you might understand parts of it, but you might not understand parts of it otherwise. But in the context of what we're talking about, like we're talking about cooking or something, oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. You're talking about cooking, so therefore you must be saying peel the potatoes. Like maybe you understood potatoes, something. Okay, he's peeling them, he's making mashed potatoes. But in the context of it, it makes sense. You might not understand the word if I just threw the word peel out. We weren't talking about, you're like, what? Yeah, like if I just said all of a sudden, I'm gonna go peel the bark off something, you're like, what? Like just out of the blue, maybe it didn't make sense. Now we're out in the woods, we're talking about making a wigwam, we need bark, we know that. Then I say something about peeling the bark and I point at the tree, it's gonna make more sense. Or we're making dinner, we're making mashed potatoes. I got a pile of potatoes, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna peel the potatoes. Well, it makes more sense than me just going, oh, the nug me pin me up. I'm gonna peel potatoes. Doesn't make as much sense out of context is what I'm trying to say. Okay. These though, these are good to get down. They're good to remember. Now, the other forms that you see are the imperative, which is the command form, and the prohibitive. Now, the prohibitive means you're telling somebody they can't do that or don't do that. So with these, we put a gago at the front and then a can or a cac at the end. The can for one person, the cac for you all. So if I said, don't leave, gago maji can. Don't leave. Gago maji can. If I wanted everybody not to leave, gago maji cac. Gago maji cac. Don't you all leave. Gago maji cac. Yes.
Remember we talked about saying have a good day?
Mm-hmm.
Is this where we can?
No, that's a great question. That's actually a little different. That's a little different. That KE indicates to do something. An example of that would be like, you can attach that KE to a noun and be very specific about doing, like, let's say you're making a table, okay? You could use that KE and attach it to the word dope one and say he or she is making a table. They're doing, so dope one cat. He or she is making or doing something with a table. Same thing, you can attach that to a lot of things. Go panagan, cat, making a basket. Some words actually have it on there. Zisbakto ke is the verb to make syrup or make maple syrup. It's got that ke, zisbakto ke. If you were making a chair, maybe you're making a rocking chair, or something, you could say cheap Dublin cat. So you can put that K-E on a verb. This looks a little bit like that, but it's not. What the difference is, the word you're talking about is that's Minogish get can. And I know it sounds like that, it looks like that, but it's not the same thing. It's in the command form. Is the difference, okay? Because if I said, okay, if I told you make a table, which is kind of an odd thing, hey, go make a table, go make a table, come back to me in 3 months, make a table. So if I said to you, make a table, oh, scan on. What the heck just happened? Well, I know, but I didn't do anything. I tapped the table, but your meat has been launched. I know it's launched, it's going. I don't think so. I think it just shut down on its own. I think it's still going. See, it's still going. Weird. I just gotta keep an eye on those weird things. Anyway, if I told you make a table, don't win can make a table. If I said everybody make tables, don't win cack. I wish I could write it up here. I don't know if I can write in this. Let's see here. It'll let me. Hey, Will, hold on a second. I just gotta remember not to save it like this. Just put this random sentence in here. Okay, so that's kind of what that is. When you add that KE, you can add that to a noun to make a verb, pretty much is what it comes in. To make a very specific verb. So like, again, if you were making like a shirt, Biskowagen, you could say like Zinba Biskowagen, that's a ribbon shirt. Zinba Biskowagen Ke, making a ribbon shirt. You could make it into a verb that way. So the thing about the prohibitive though, it always has gago. It has to have the gago as part of it. So it has to have the gago, it has to have the can or the cat. So let's take a different verb here. Maybe even one that's not up there. Does anybody remember the verb beamchige by chance? Beamchige? Anybody? That hurts. Clean. Beamchige is the verb to clean. So if I said don't clean, gago beamchige can. Don't clean. Gago beamchige kak. Don't you all clean. Gago beamchige kak. Okay. Gashkana bagway bagaji. Abda ke manakwayan I wishkababo no mug. I'm thirsty. I have to drink some pop for a second. Big wedge. Okay, I'm back. Okay, we're not going to harp on this for long. I just wanted to, because we'll get back to this kind of stuff in the future, but this is the prohibitive form. This is how you tell somebody to not do something. And this is with an AI verb, okay? Your basic type verb. So if you said don't come, for example, maybe don't come. Gago be a can, don't come. Gago be a cat, don't you all come. But if you want someone to come, you just add an in or a K to the verb. So for example, maji is the verb to leave, but hey, you want somebody to leave? Maji. You're telling one person, leave, maji. You want everybody to leave? Majik. Everybody leave. Majik. You're telling everybody to leave. To leave. Shishik. Everybody go to the bathroom. Leak. Oh, it's funny. So anyway, you add a K to it, and it's you all do it. Okay. The same thing if we use the verb bean chige. Okay, bean chige is the verb to clean. If you want one person to clean, you say bean chigan, telling you, hey, clean. Bean chigan. You want everybody to clean? Bean chigak. I always talk to everybody, so a lot of kids. I know one of them not getting away with something. So I'm always like, everybody do it, everybody. So when I tell my kids, for example, I tell them, come eat, I'll say, be a wee snook. Everybody come eat. Be a wee snook. If I was just telling you guys, eat, like you're at the table already and you're not eating your food, wee snook. Eat, we snook. Sometimes when these old timers, after they do a prayer, the next thing they'll say is they'll go, we snook, or be a wee snook. Go eat, be a wee snook, eat. And that's in the command form. Just go eat, we snook. Okay. Or like another good one is like beyond shoda, come here, beyond shoda. You're telling one person, come here, beyond shoda, biak shoda, everybody come here, biak shoda, everyone come here. Okay. Enough on that. Lots of verbs, yep. We already talked, you guys already explained that for me. Inclusive, exclusively. Oh, standardized writing system, that's always fun. But actually, it's funny because standardization sometimes can take away from your language, because when you start standardizing words, you say there's only this word equals this, and it's got to be this or that, and it takes away some of the richness of your language. When there could be like 3 or 4 ways to say a very similar thing, if you start standardizing certain things, not just the way you write, but even like, hey, this is the only word you can use for cook. Okay, well, what about to fry? What about, then everybody's just like, that's it, it's cook. So, objects which are possessed. Oh, that's good stuff. He said, Paul. What? Gaggle, kid, eat. Don't say that. Gaggle, kid, eat. Don't say that. Da dokmaben, behave. Da dokmaben. See, I'm using that as a lesson. Da dokmaben, behave. Okay, so things that are possessed in Potawatomi, relative terms tend to be possessed. This is one that confuses a lot of English speakers, because they'll come up to me and they'll want to like make a t-shirt. Like they don't know their language at all. They'll be like, I want to make a t-shirt that says world's best dad or grandma rules or whatever they want to say. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Do you mean my grandma, your grandma, our grandma? There's not just like in English, there's just that generic grandma. Potawatomi, you don't have random grandmas wandering the village. It's somebody's grandma. It's your grandma, my grandma, our grandma. Somebody, there's something about relationships in our language, relationships to each other, relationships to our clan, to our family, relationships to the earth and the animals around us. There's a relationship that exists. So it's somebody's grandma. Another thing that is possessed in Potawatomi is body parts. Once again, you don't have random arms or legs or whatever laying around your village. That's somebody's leg. That's my arm. It felt like I just got chopped off. That's your arm. That's his arm. It's somebody's arm. You don't just have random body parts laying around. So it belongs. So when you talk about your arms, your body parts, you put like an in on the front of it. So for example, cot means leg. Nut-cot is how you really say it, my leg. Good-cot is your leg, etc. And so they're possessed. There also are a few objects in Potawatomi which are possessed. Sometimes I think because some of these things are because they're so important to us. Like my arrow is possessed. It's Neeb is my arrow. Geeb is your arrow. Weeb is his or her arrow. But you don't just say Ebe. It's got to be somebody's. It's somebody's arrows. I mean, arrow is pretty important. You can't have somebody jacking your arrows if you don't have any arrows. Dog, my dog. Nidaish, my dog. Nidaguam, my horse. So we have certain words to say that that's my horse versus just Ekdosha or just Nemosh. There's my dog. So there's ways to describe it. Again, your horse is very important. Your dog is pretty important. Without your horse, your dog is the one that's carrying all your stuff to the next camp. And in the past, that's who would do it. We'd make those little, I always call them wrong, but traverses or whatever you call them. They would drag the stuff. What do you call them? Treboy. That's it. I always get that wrong. Such a fancy word, treboy. 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 Je pense, français, baguette. I mix it up. I speak French a little bit. There's some Potawatomi in it. So, je pense donc je suis. I think therefore that's my extent of my French. Anyways, so there's certain words though that are possessed that are important. My blanket. There's a word for my blanket that's different than just blanket. Waboyan. And as soon as I said that, the word just melted out of my mind. Let's see here. What is that word? Oh, participants can now see your application. I mean, I wish they could see it the whole time. But okay, I don't know. This online is kind of wild sometimes. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Nemedne, there it is. Nemedne is my blanket versus just Waboyan is just a blanket. And the word waboyan, even that word has elements of something else inside of it. That's the beauty of our language. There's so much intricacies. Wabozo is a rabbit because they used to make a lot of these blankets, really warm blankets out of rabbit. Not too many people make them that way anymore, but you see some of these folks that are Cree, which is another Algonquin group, that still make these rabbit blankets. They look really warm, really, really warm. Now, obviously, it takes, lots of jash, wabozo, gishpin, wajitonawa, waboya. It takes a lot of rabbits if you're going to make one of those, but still, they're pretty warm looking blankets. So. But that word, again, in the word blanket, there's that word waboyan. So lots of intricate little things inside the language describe things. Just like canoe, it's like in that word jimon is that description of kiss. Jima is to kiss somebody. So like if you want to tell somebody, hey, kiss me, jimshin, maybe you want to tell your granddaughter or your significant other or whatever you want to, hey, jimshin. Or you could say, wait till it's St. Patty's Day and we can make a little t-shirt up that says jimshin bodewad minda. Kiss me, I'm Indian. Or something, instead of kiss me, I'm Irish, kiss me, I'm Indian, kiss me, I'm Bodwada. Jimshin, bodewad minda. Kiss me, I'm Bodwada. But in that word, that Jimon is a canoe. Well, that's because when you're paddling, it's like, I was told it's like you're kissing the water. You're just kind of gently because if you come in there going like this and making a bunch of noise, everybody can hear you from 3 miles away, but you're going to attract all kinds of enemies that are going to be taking shots at you with their arrows from the shore. You ain't going to make it very far. There's all those little intricacies in our language. So I'm now on a tangent. So let's come back to the document for a second here. Okay. And we finally made it to the sentences. How exciting. It only took 30 minutes to get to there. Okay. Nidja Epichiak. Nidja Epichiak. How far is it? When I travel with my children, this seems to be the question of the hour. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Nidja Epichiak. How far is it? Wase yaw, it's far. Or Goji mana Neaudebuggin. Goji mana Neaudebuggin. Somewhere around 4 miles. Goji is a word. I like the word goji. It's actually one of my favorite words. It just has a nice roll to it. Goji, somewhere. That along with nukmuk are ones I really appreciate. Nukmuk is just like here, there, everywhere. Nukmuk shana, here, there, everywhere. And goji, goji. I'm going somewhere. Goji. So goji by itself can just mean somewhere. That mana is kind of like roundabout. So roundabout somewhere around goji mana Neaudebuggin, somewhere around 4 miles. Like I told you guys, or I may have told you guys before, may not have, but that debugging can mean mileage, it can mean distance, it can mean hours. It literally means it measures to a certain amount. By itself, that word can even mean a ruler, a thing that you measure with, that word debugging. So debugging, again, it's contextual. When I say how far is it, and I use debugging, and I'm talking about around about 4, it makes sense. But if I said how much time is it going to take to get there, then I'm probably thinking, well, I'm probably talking about like hours or minutes, but debugging. Now, what if I said somewhere around 6 miles? Maybe about 6 miles. How can I say somewhere around 6 miles? How can I change this sentence up?
Go. Because I forgot 6.
Well, that's an interesting way of doing it. That was a very unique way of doing it. You said 5 and 1. So okay. Go Watso. Go Watso. Go Watso. That was interesting. Go Watso. So yeah, you could just say Goji Mana, Go Watso to buggy. But actually, if you said it that way, I probably would have understood you. So another way you could even say this, you could get rid of Goji Mana. Maybe you want to say maybe 4 miles. How do you say maybe, Dwight? Ganabich, go watts on a buggy, maybe 6 miles, or Ganabich now on a buggy, maybe 4. Waseyawan, Waseyawan, it's far. Waseyawan, Waseyawan. Beshochiawan, Beshochiawan, it's close. Everybody try saying that. Beshochiawan, Beshochiawan. And that word Yawan can be used with a lot of different things. It just means it is. I can say Dopewin Yawan, it's a table. Mazinigan Yawan, it's it's a piece of paper. Wishkababo, yeah. So if you ask me like, what is that? Wekniji, what is that? Oh, Wishkababo Yawan, it's pop, or yeah, Wekniji. What is that? Dopewin Yawan. Or I can say Dopewin Jinkade, which means it's called a table. So, but Yawan's a good word to know, just means it is. Now, there's a form of this word that means he or she is. If you take the N off of it, you just say Yahweh, that means he or she is. So like if I said, well, who is that or what is that, and you're like, oh, it's a deer, Suksi Yahweh, he or she's a deer. And then there's a form of that it changes a little bit when we say I am. It's Nadao, and then you are Gadao. So like if I said, Bodewad me down, I'm Bodewad, that comes from Yahweh, the verb Yahweh. So, Gagakendan Edayan, Gagakendan Edayan, you know where I live. Gagakendan Edayan, maybe, Ganovich. Ganovich, I'm going again, Chomikwendesin, but I don't remember. So, Gagakendan Edayan, you know where I live. Now, this is another example of when those conjunct verbs kind of come into play, okay? So, this part right here, that is the verb to know it. Gekendan. This part of the verb, it just moves them a little bit. The G at the front is you, so you know it. And then this is the verb to live somewhere, edayan. The yan is I. So you know it where I live. If you were to say you know where they live, you would say Gekendan eda what? That would change to what? If you were to say you know where they live. If you said, hey, you know where we live, Gekendan eda yak, where we live. I'm excluding the person that they don't live there too, because they don't know where they live. I hope they don't. I hope they also don't live there, or they've got real problems. They don't even know where they live. So, Gekendan eda yak, you know where we live. So, when you look at these, you can see the conjunct in the sentence. Here, we've got one of those who, what, when, where type questions. So it's going to be in the conjunct that you go. That's us all. I don't know why I decided to stand up and do that. I'm just right now. Lots of water too. Scan. Sometimes you just got to move around a little bit. Do what?
We're not good thieves.
Oh, the wall, yeah. Next time, you wouldn't get much. So it wouldn't be a very advantageous grab. For real. Nijipi wajigo. When are we going? And that's all of us. So when are we all going? Nijipi wajigo. How do we know that's when? Nijipi wajigo. Exactly. How do we know it's something that's happening in the future? The wa. Otherwise, it'd be like right now. So when are we going to go? Basically, it's a little bit better. When are we going to go? Nijipi wajigo. And then the you go at the end. That's us all. So in this one, nobody's being left out. It's a real cozy feeling. Everybody's going. Nobody's being left out. That's good. Gagasha. Soon. Gagasha. Gaga is a funny word. Whenever I say that word, people always give me this look like Gaga, goo goo gaga or something. I'm like, no, it's Gaga. It means soon. Gaga. Some people will also, there's a little bit variation on this word. Some people also will say gaga, but I don't know. I've always said it that way. Gaga or gaga. The ship part is just kind of an emphasize, just adds a little oomph to it. It doesn't literally translate out to, well, to anything, honestly. Like I can't be like, hey, this is that. It's just kind of, just makes it flow. Gagasha. So I could just say gaga, gaga, gagasha, sketch, sketch. After a while or later, sketch. Yeah, sketch. This is just one of many different variations you can use for Bama P, Bama Beta. But Bama by itself just means later. Sketch can just mean after a little while also, or you don't have to always, it doesn't have to be used like after a while, like later, sketch. It can really just mean like after a while. After a while, we're gonna go cook, or we're gonna go to the store or something. Sketch na wheel done Kevin. After a while, we're gonna go to town. Sketch na wheel done Kevin. Wayabak Goijiaman. Wayabak Goijiaman. We're gonna go tomorrow morning. Wayabak Goijiaman. Wayabak is not a word I use too often, but it means tomorrow morning. So it's what's nice about this is it's like it kind of combines the need to have like waban and waba for tomorrow, and it's like one word that means tomorrow morning. Wayabak. Gadapa Kebzone. Could you pull off the road? Gadapa Kebzone. Gadapa Kebzone. Abduk Nagashishig. Abduk Nagashishig. I have to go to the bathroom. And I'm going to be real specific this time because last time I got called out on this word. Because yes, technically shishig is more of a male way of going to the bathroom. Again, I've tried to explain that our language is very specific and it's very descriptive in nature. And the way that a woman would squat to go to the bathroom is zakum. So if you were saying I'm going to go to the bathroom as a lady, you would use zakum to say like number one versus shishig, you know.
Spell it.
Zakem, zakum. Zak.
Okay.
Yep, zakum. So we zakum. So, and somebody said that, oh, I was like, yeah, I tell you. The good thing is we all easy the same. Excuse me. We all easy the
So
same.
woman with the
Abak, where? Oh, abduct, no, don't worry about the abduct is fine. The abduct means have to, and women can use abduct. It's just the shishik is the part that you wouldn't use. You would use zakum instead of shishik. So, just there's, you know, like I said, because our language is so very descriptive, you know, it actually is more appropriate to say it that way, to say zakum, we zakum. But there's not a lot of words that are like that, but this is one of those words. So, Geschibozen, drive faster. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Geschibozen, drive faster. And I think I told you guys last time we went through this part, Geschibozen. Nobody ever tells me this, because I always think I'm driving too fast. It's more the other one. Geschibozen or Gotchbozen. Nazagus. Gotchbozen. Nazagus. Drive slower. I'm scared. Gotchbozen. Nazagus. Nazagus means I'm scared. Nazagus. Gotchbozen. Drive slower. I'm scared. Zagus. Nidanizanis. Excuse me. Gidanizanis. Gidanizanis. You are dangerous. Gidanizanis. You are dangerous. This is not a compliment either. This isn't like, oh, you're so dangerous. No, this is like, you're dangerous. You're going to get me killed. Get a knees on this. You're dangerous. Now, if you want to say it's dangerous, that's a good word to know too. Knees on it. Knees on it. So instead of, so just Nizanet means it's dangerous. So like if you want to say, hey, be careful, nasana, knees on it. That's dangerous. Be careful, nasana, knees on it, idokwan. That table's dangerous. It's got a broke leg or something, you know. Nasana, nizanet, Egyptibun. That chair is dangerous. Be careful. Nasana, nizanet, Egyptibun. That chair is dangerous. So nizanet is a good one to know too, for it's dangerous. Nipija Ejiayan, get a giwani ne. Nipija Ejiayan, get a giwani ne. Nipija Ejiayan, get a giwani ne. So Nipija is the where are you going? Nipija. The yin again is you. The Nipija is where. So where, and that's that E at the front just kind of means like present, or it's kind of like it's a fact. You don't have to put that E on there. Like you could say Nipija. It just flows better to me when you have that E on there. Nipija versus Nipija. To me, it sounds better. So it's kind of a preference, but it works both ways. It doesn't matter. And then Gida Giwanine, are you lost? And again, that word Giwani has more information to it than the general lost too, because it's kind of more like wandering about. Because the word for a prairie chicken in Potawatomi is Giwani. Because a prairie chicken, it's not cooped up, it's just kind of wandering around the prairie, just here, there. So that's really what this word means. It's like you're just kind of wandering around, like don't know where you're going, you're lost. Giwani, you're kind of like a prairie chicken. Giwani is wandering around. Get a Giwani ne. Now that ne, so we got two types of questions here. We have a complicated question where we have that nipija, that where on the front. Because it's a complicated question, we got the yin at the end for you. Then we have a simple question here too. Simple question, usually that any, that ne is usually the second thing in the sentence. Even though this is separated out a little bit, this is really just one word. I could have slammed it all together, but I've always been, when I learned the language, they always separated it like this for me, and I've always done it the same way. It's just, to me, it's easier to see the part. Now when you know what the verb is and what's the thing. So get a giwani, ne. One thing you have to watch for an English speaker is the tendency to go up. In English, when we ask questions, we're often going like, do you want to come? Like we're coming up on the question. So with Potawatomi, you kind of go down a little bit. Get a giwani, ne, get a giwani, ne. You kind of come down. It's a natural tendency for an English speaker to go up. I catch myself doing it every once in a while, especially when I really get going. I'm going. I realize I went up instead of down. It's not the end of the world, but it's just one of those little things you can kind of tweak to kind of make yourself sound smoother in the long run. If you can kind of remember that. I always make kind of a cognizant thought about it. Because again, it's a strong tendency in English to do it, to kind of come up on a question. So it makes it almost like you almost have to fight against that English tendency to go down. Kind of giwani, ne, gabakatane, gabakatane. You know, are you hungry? Gabakatane. Instead of saying gabakatane, you know, gabakatane. It's just, you just gotta, again, you just kind of fight against that tendency. Okay. Get a bit, oh, whoa, what's flying by? Get a bit Nikiwani. Get a bit Nikiwani. I might be lost. Get a bit Nikiwani. You never admit it, no. I might be lost. Get a bitch. Get a bitch is one of my favorite words. Also, I really like that word. Even though I know it sounds a lot like a curse word in English, maybe that's why I like it. Maybe I just like to rile people up. I like to get out in public. I got a bitch to eat. You should have known it. I'm like, whoa, what did you just say? But if it is one of those words that causes you undue grief, I certainly don't want that to be the case. There is another word you can use that's kwetan. Kwetan is another word you can use that doesn't sound like the English word. But I was reminded that other languages have words that are sometimes seen as obscenities in other languages. I was reminded that this Thanksgiving, actually, there was somebody that was posting something about Choctaw. The word for turkey in Choctaw sounds so much like a curse word in English, they've actually made another word to talk about turkey. And I'm like, that's really extreme. Like it didn't exist. Like they were like, the word basically sounds like F it. But not F, but the real word. That's the word turkey. So pass the F it. Like, whoa. F and I'm having some turkey burger. So if you think that your language is the only one that has those words, it might sound a little like no, there's other languages that do as well. So, but yeah, just tell them if next time you have to you just work that out, you can always be like, oh, I just started my Choctaw. It took over for a second. It's a great getaway thing. Or if you do bust out a inappropriate thing that sounds like gonna bet you, oh, I'm a baby, or perhaps Is that obvious? You misheard me. But that, I think that's a really funny one, though, you know, pass the ethic. Like, oh, okay. Wagwood Nicky, okay, whatever. Okay. Genovich Nagiwani. Let me check real quick. I haven't done a good job keeping an eye on folks. Let me see if there's any questions that have popped up. Hopefully they're able to still be on with us because it's been doing weird stuff. Well, yeah, we have Randy. We lost one person. And are you sure there's a phone there? It could in fact be your phone. I don't know. We've gained a person, lost a person. If you have any questions, Randy, please don't hesitate to, you can ask them or if you can't, if I don't know if it should let you talk, but it might not. If it doesn't, you can always type them in and hopefully I'll see it. I'll get a chance to answer. If I don't see it in the beginning, please don't hesitate to send me an email later. I'll try to get an answer. I apologize. Apologize in advance. Nagiwani si Dokam. Chongiwani si Dokam. I'm not lost. Be quiet. Dokam. So here we have a negative statement. To make a negative statement, Padwami, you have the cho at the front, and that si is also added to it. So the verb was giwani, the verb to be lost, but you have that si to the end. And you have the cho at the front. Now, to an English speaker, they might say, well, that's like a double negative, right? So does that mean it means it's a positive now? No, not like that. To me, it's like you have two chances to catch the information. I think it's a bonus. So either you heard the cho, which that's cool, and you know it's a negative statement, or you missed that and you heard the si. Either way, you got two chances to figure out it was a negative statement. They're like, okay, sweet. Our ancestors were looking out for us. So I mean, I gotta help these folks out. They're gonna struggle one day. They need to be able to hear it twice. So Chongiwani si, and you just kind of flow into that in when you got that cho at the front. So you just flow into that in. Chongiwani si Dokam. Try with me. Chongiwani si Dokam. Now, Dokam is one of those few words that's not singular or plural. It's just be quiet. And it's funny because somebody was asking me something like, oh, how do you say, like, there's always somebody who wants to say something real racist. Like, how do you say, shut up? Something like that. I'm like, no, you really don't. You say dokam. Dokam literally means be peaceful. Kind of be chill, basically. You know, dokam, be peaceful. So we don't have those real abrasive words, you know, for things. You know, we have milder.
Go on.
Well, that's a good one. I give you. That's funny you threw that one out because Kogan. There is that. Okay, occasionally we have some of those words. I see I got called out again. Kogan means get that out of here. And it's funny you bring that one up because I was thinking about that when I was doing Maji earlier. I was thinking, you know, if you say Maji to somebody, you're just kind of like, say, hey, leave. If they don't get the picture, you can throw Kogan at them. Basically, get the heck out of here, Kogan. Or Kogan. And I was talking to somebody once, and they said that their grandpa used to always say that when a stray dog would show up, you know, res dog would show up in their yard. Kogan or Kogan, get the thing out of here, Kogan. So if you get a Kogan or a Kogan from somebody, well, it might be time to hit the road. No hard feelings, okay? I'm out of here. Yeah, occasionally we have some more. We definitely have degrees on things. It's the same with like love. You know, in English, you say love. You use love with your parents, you use it with your boyfriend or girlfriend, your spouse, you use it maybe with your best friend, whatever. Love is very, I don't know what the word for that is. General, congenial, works with a lot of situations. Potawatomi, you change the verb based on the degrees. I mean, Devana is love, but it's more like love for like a child or maybe for a friend or something like that. And then Menwinma is more love like for somebody who's like a significant other or somebody like that, maybe a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, you know. So you can change the degrees, I guess, of the way that you're talking about things. And it's like that with Potawatomi on certain things. Like there's leave, and then there's leave immediately. Kogan's more that get the heck out of here. Kogan. But good memory. When it should not be Quindiman. Oh, I can't. You remember that word? Big Angie, yeah, Big Angie, non-voting, a little bit non-voting, that's good. So, Cho Naga Kindesin Wedgie Guani Dawau Gamak. That was a mouthful, wasn't it? Cho Naga Kindesin Wedgie Guani Dawau Gamak. I don't know the direction of the store. I don't know where it is. Cho Naga Kindesin Wedgie Guani Dawau Gamak. And obviously you can just trade different words out in here. Like if you don't know where the school is, maybe you're supposed to go pick your grandkids. Cho naga kinda sin wedge guan skongabak. I don't know where the school is. Cho naga kinda sin wedge guan emikchui. I don't know where you work. So chon kinda sin wedge guani dawalgabak. I don't know the direction of the store. Now, the thing that indicates a direction here is that wedge guan. That iguan kind of means in a certain way or in a certain direction. You'll see that iguan sometimes used like if I said like underneath the table, I would say nam iguan underneath it. Quej iguan on top of it, pake iguan kind of the side. So that iguan it indicates like a direction or like kind of a location. And that wedge is kind of like it's kind of like the when you say nipija wedge where you come from. That wedge is that wedge. It just changed a little bit to that wedge form. That wedge means like in a certain way, a certain direction, basically wedge. So kind of like in a certain direction would be the way wedge iguan would kind of literally mean like in a certain direction, wedge iguan. So when I say nipija wedge where do you come from? What I'm literally saying is nipija where direction wedge bia come you. So which direction do you come from? Hence, where are you from? So you could actually use that same word if maybe you had a group of people that were coming into town from like all over. You could be like, hey, where are you coming from? Like maybe at the festival, you'd be like, hey, where'd you come from? I mean, it kind of means the same thing, like which direction do you come from, but where are you from? You know, same basic thing. So one more time here. Chon Kindesin Wedjiguani Dawalgamak. I don't know the direction of the store. Nijapi Wamajit Okwe. Nijapi Wamajit Okwe. When is she leaving? Maybe you got that guest that refuses to leave, that mother-in-law or that daughter-in-law that just doesn't want to leave, or maybe just a friend you had enough. I feel like, when is she leaving? Nijapi Wamajit Okwe. The beautiful thing about this is you could have this conversation if you taught somebody what you were saying and not insult them. You just be like, when is she leaving? Kind of motion with your lips there. Oh, Clay. Over there. And they're like, oh, okay. Now, I always joke about that old quay. You gotta leave a little space there because if you say it too close together, it can mean something else. It can mean a maggot. Old quay means a maggot, but old quay is that woman. So, but in fast speech, it might sound that way. Go to Buckenack at 1 o'clock. Go to Buckenack at 1 o'clock. So if I said at 2 o'clock, what would I say? Niche de Buckenack. Niche de Buckenack. What if I said 4 o'clock? Close. Meow. Meow de Buckenack. Yeah. Meow de Buckenack. Oh, yeah. But look at it this way. You probably forgot more than most people have ever learned. and that means it's there to be accessed again. You just gotta kind of refresh it a little bit. It'll start come back, but you're a little bit there. So just gotta be patient with yourself. Always, it's out there. It's just waiting for you to kind of get it going again. It'll start flowing for you. So Nomak Gamaji. Nomak Gamaji. He or she is leading a little bit. Nomak Gamaji. That GE is a immediate future tense is what it is. So if you wanted to say, I'm gonna leave, Nuimaji, that means that could be in a couple minutes, tomorrow, it could mean Nuimaji could be I'm going to do it in the future. But if you want to really make it a point that it's like I'm leaving, I'm out here. Nagemaji. I'm leaving, basically like in the next, basically like I'm on the way out. Gemaji. Oh, write it down. You know, I'm out, get my IG, out of here. You know, so you can use that instead of a we, you can use that gay. So to be like immediate future. It's also used though when we say like, let's do something, which is interesting because you know, Jibwa, they use this, they put this da on the end of their verbs to say like, let's do it. Like they'll say, we snada, let's eat. Well, we don't have that word. We don't use that da. But the way we would do it is we use that immediate future. We say, "Gege we snamen," "Gege we snamen," which means like, let's eat. We're eating now. Excuse me. Let's do it right now. "Gege we snamen." "Gege we snamen." "Gege chikazman." Let's play. "Gege chikazman." "Gege wajandaman." Let's cook. Whatever you want to say. "Gege binjigaman." Let's clean. I prefer the let's clean where I'm excluded from it. You can use the enough form with me. The gap beam man. Let's clean without you. Okay. I'll just sit over on the side, monitor progress. Point tells it. Je know how bonus. I'll just point with my lips over there. Oh. Okay, let's keep going. We're doing good. Making some good progress through some stuff. I know we went through some of this stuff before, guys, and it may feel repetitive, but I hope it's still, I mean, it's good to kind of go over. It's never good to just touch and walk away and never come back. So I think it's okay. I know we've like said, some of us have touched on it a little bit, and that's okay. Bambo, whoa, wow, my voice down, I'm about busted through the mic. Bambodak gumgok, Norwegiana Niao Yawak. Bambodak gumgok, Norwegiana Niao Yawak. So Bambodak, it means to fly. So it's the flying place. Bambodak gumgok, place where things fly. Norwegiana, I'm going to take him or her. Niao Yawak at 4 o'clock. Now here I used a different way of doing it. I could have said Niao de Buganak, but Yawak is another way to say time. So Niao Yawak, so at 4 o'clock. The reason I show you both these ways is because in Kansas, they tend to favor that Yawak way of doing it. So they'll be like Niao Yawak, 4 o'clock. In Wisconsin, they tend to favor Debuganak. So like Jim would say, Niao Debuganak, 4 o'clock. They both are understandable. It makes like Yawak just means it is. It comes from Yawin, so it's 4 o'clock. Debuganak again comes from it measures out to. They're both understandable, but I don't want you guys to ever be like, oh, what the heck? Why that person used that and not that? So I'm just giving you variety here so you can know the difference. Bambo duck gum gok Norwegiana niao yawak. Bambo duck gum gok Norwegiana niao yawak. Now, I want y'all to try to say that with me. That's a good one. Good one to really get you to really wrap your lips around this one here. Bambo duck gum gok Norwegiana niao yawak. Let's try it again. Bambo duck gum gok Norwegiana niao yawak. One more time. Bambo duck gum gok Norwegiana niao yawak. Bambo duck gum gok Norwegiana niao yawak. That was good. That was good. The reason I did that though is I just wanted you to realize that the more times you say like a little bit longer sentences like that, it really kind of helps you get the cadence and kind of get the feel for kind of where to breathe. It's a long word. Kind of you just get a feel for the flow, and once you after a while, if you say something a bunch, that word becomes really easy. Like I can just bust out, Maji badon was konin juganin. Turn on the lights. Maji badon was konin juganin. Turn on the lights. And it comes out really fast. Sounds like a mouthful. Sounds like whoa, like I never go. Maji badon, was konin juganin, was konin juganin. Maji badon was konin juganin. It just the more times you say it, the easier kind of you get used to the flow of it. I've run into this before though, like where it sounds really intimidating because I used to always tell my kids, Zagajuevan, which means throw it out, Zagajuevan. And my wife, I mean, she's pretty good with her problem. I mean, she tries to use the language of the kids, she says, oh, not beach and debunk that and little things like that. but she couldn't get that word. She's like, what are you saying? And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I've said it so much that I say it really fast. I don't even think about it. But I need to mentally slow it down just so that, number one, you can catch it. The kids actually can catch it. They just don't know, like, just to, and really catch it. So I'm like, sag your web, and then sag your web. And then I started saying a little bit slower around the house. And sag your web, and then throw that away. And then now I'm back to sag your web. But I realized, again, it's just getting used to the tone, the sounds, and eventually if you say something a bunch, it just rolls off your tongue. Then everybody's like, whoa, man, that Rena boy, she can talk some Padawan. What the hell? Nepta Nishna, that one. Oh, she can talk some good Indian. So one more time. Bambo duck gum gook. Or not gum, yeah. Bambo duck gum gook Nuijona meow yawuk. Taking her to the airport at 4. Now, how do we know it's her that's going to the airport? How do we know it's her that we're going to the airport with? How do you know that I'm taking her to the airport? You don't. It's he or she. It was a trick question. It was a trick question. But I really appreciate how hard some of y'all really are thinking while you were just tearing through thinking. I really appreciate the effort that you put forth in that thought. I was impressed. You have no idea. It's all contextual. It's just because it could be take him or him. The only way that you would know that's a her we're talking about is if I throw an Okwe in there somewhere, which I didn't. So that could be I'm taking him to the airport at 4 o'clock too. I just didn't bother going he or she, because that gets annoying after a while. Did he or she go? I just wrote that she took her to the airport. So good. I like the way y'all really, man, your mind, like everybody was just thinking. They're deep in thought. I like that. That's good. Nipijawejikwan. Which direction, or literally where in particular direction are you going? Nipijawejikwan. Nipijawejikwan. Nimanji, Napaji. Nimanji, Napaji. Nimanji, Napaji. Nimanji, Napaji. So Nimanji is right, Napaji left. I can't say that I've ever had a need to say this very much. Except when I play like hokey pokey with kids. Like, but you're Nimanji caught in, and you put your Nimanji caught, that like that, put your right foot in, you put your right foot in. But, or if you're giving directions, I can see that being useful. Like, hey, turn right. Nimanji, Odajopi, right now. Napaji. Or if you got some stuff laid out on the table and you're like, turn to the K. No, Nimanji Iba, that one on the right over there. Nimanji Iba. Oh, wow. But Napaji, Nimanji. Shquesen. It's a dead end. Shquesen. I think this was supposed to go together. Shquesen y meow. Shquesen y meow. That road is a dead end. Shquesen y meow. Shquesen y meow. Not meow, because meow is what? 4. Meow, though, is road. So Shquesen y meow. Shquesen y meow. Shkebzon Odajopi. Shkebzon Odajopi. Turn right now. Shkebzon Odajopi. Excuse me. Odajopi means like right now, like at this time. There's a couple ways you can say this too. You can say Odajopi. You can say Odopi. You can say I don't know, Gom, but some people use Gom for today for like now, but I prefer Odopi or Odajopi. So Shkebzon Odajopi or Shkebzon Odopi. Turn right now. And then you can throw in there like a Nimanji or Napaji, left, right, ah. You could have a wild ride and start screaming that out the driver. Turn right now. Okay. Nipiji Wedji Guan Edayin. Nipijuwejiaguan edayin. Which direction to your house? Nipijuwejiaguan edayin. How would we say which direction to their house? We change this. Nipijuwejiaguan edayin. How can we change that to which direction to their house? Where's the house? Ooh. Let's look at it and see what we recognize here. Okay. Nipijuwejiaguan, we had that a little higher up there, and it just kind of meant like which direction. So that edayin is the part that's got to be talking about our house, okay? That da is the verb to live somewhere. So what you're really saying is which direction to where you live, edayin. The yin is you, so instead of a yin, we would put a what. K would work if you're doing independent, but because this is a who, what, when, where type question, you got to do what. Your answer wasn't wrong if we were using a simple, like a simple question, but Nipijuwejiaguan eda what would be which direction to their house. Nipijuwejiaguan eda what. Good. Nukshe meow, gagawap meshiken. Nukshe meow, gagawap meshiken. Look at the road, don't look at me. Nukshe. Nukshe is a great one. It can mean, you can use that to say, hey, look over there. You can even use it just to kind of get somebody's attention. Hey, look, Nukshe, Nukshe. My kids, we always play this game with all those horses. I always talk about it. Nukshe or Nekdosho. Look at that horse. And they'll be like, oh, Nukshe or Nekdosho. The little horse statues out here in town. They're always like, hey, we play a little game with that. Oh, Nukshe. Oh, show me Wapmasi. I didn't see it. And I always do it like it's animate because I don't know how many like statues of horses my children are going to run into in their lives. So I just treat it as animate and go on with it rather than make it inanimate. But Nukshe, look at Nukshe meow. Look at the road. Nukshe meow. You could say another one I use sometimes. My kids, I'll say Nukshe moseyin. Look where you're walking. Nukshe moseyin. Look where you're walking because sometimes I'll be like going like this. You know, just waiting for them to crash the ground. Like Nukshe moseyin. You know, Gago Maktoken Vida, Nukshe moseyin, teach moseyin. Don't run inside, walk, and look where you're walking. So that's a mouthful. I do say that a lot because my kids are always stumbling over stuff or not looking when they're going. So Nukshe moseyin, look where you're walking. Nukshe moseyin. Now this next one, that next part of that don't look at me. The reason that one looks different is that's a VTA verb, okay? So that is the verb wabma, to look at. That there's like a bunch of forms. There's like 6 forms on that. That's why that one looks a little different. Like there's don't look at me, don't you all look at me, but that's just don't do it to me. So gago wab meshiken, don't look at me. Look at the road. Nukshe meow, gago wab meshiken, don't look at me. Nukshe meow. Watea yagwatsit o bullsit. Watea yagwatsit o bullsit. Wow, that driver is crazy. Watea yagwatsit o bullsit. That driver is crazy. The yagwatse is the verb to be crazy. There's a couple of them in Potawatomi. I always find that amusing. There's a few ways to say you're crazy in Potawatomi. There's Gionadze and there's Yagwadze. And even to a degree, even Kebadze can be a little bit crazy. Kebadze is a little bit more mischievous though. That's one I use with my kids when they're acting a fool. I'll say, Gago Kebadze kek. Don't you guys act a fool. Gago Kebadze kek. Or if you got one grandkid or one person acting a fool, Gago Kebadze kid. Don't act a fool. Gago Kebadze kid. Don't act a fool. Heck, you can use it with your friends too. I mean, your friends are acting wild. Heck, Gago Kebadze kid. Don't act wild. Don't act foolish. Come on, behave. Behave. So I like to give you all some opportunities of different ways you can use these words with each other. Wow, that driver is crazy. And that watea is a great word. There is one form of that word though there's a female form of this word. Watea tends to be one that can be used by both men and women, but there is one word, mamkadumak, and that is a specifically female word So, in fact, I remember this lady came up to me at the Heritage Center, said her mom used to always say this word, was kind of wondering what it was. Her mom or grandma, something like that, when she was younger. And I'm thinking, oh, great, let's see what this is gonna be, because, I mean, sometimes they're simple questions, sometimes they're like, what? Or they may have heard it one way, and now it's kind of like become something else. And she said it really pretty clearly. She was like, yeah, like mom cod gemuk. I said, oh yeah, mom cod gemuk. Mom cod gemuk is another like, wow. But she said that I think it was her grandma would always say this when people would roll up on their house, like unannounced. Like mom cod gemuk. It's kind of like, kind of like, geez, the house, they have to clean the house. Somebody's just showing up to visit. Mom cod gemuk. But you can also use wa tea. Now, a shortened version of this is just tea. Tea. Sometimes you don't have time to say wa tea. Tea. Wa tea. Or mom cod gemuk for you ladies. Mom cod gemuk. And it's also good to know if you're a guy, just in case you have granddaughters or daughters. It's nice to, or if, especially if somebody uses that, you're like, what the heck is that? At least you know what it is. So even though occasionally there's a word that may not be a man's word or vice versa, it's good to know both of them just for that point. Okay. Nipija. Where are you all going? Nipija. Miago wisnau go Norwegian. Miago wisnau go Norwegian. That's a mouthful. Let's try that one. So miago wisnau go Norwegian. The word gia, which is the verb to go, is one word that has always seemed to be kind of hard for English speakers to get. Say gia, Norwegia, Norwegian. Something about that word. I don't know if maybe we need to put like an extra letter in there to make it sound easier for people, but I've often found that word to be kind of a challenging word. Some of these words too, when you have like a bunch of consonants and then a vowel, that's something you never have in English. Good example would be like mshkukio gemuk, like a hospital. That word for medicine, mshkuki, it has like M-S-H-K before you even hit a consonant. You never have that in English. You don't have that many, or that many before you hit a vowel. You don't have that many consonants for a vowel. It doesn't usually happen. So it's kind of a hard thing to do naturally sometimes. But so miago, miago means Mexican. Miago, wisnau gumgok, Norwegian. Miago wisnau gumgok Norwegian. Miago wisnau gumgok Norwegian. Miago wisnau gumgok Norwegian. We are going to a Mexican restaurant, and you're not coming because you're not included. It's we but not you. So we're going and you're not coming. Unless you're paying. Gonna be squeezed the bag in it. Unless you're gonna pay. So miago wisnau gumgok Norwegian. We're going to a Mexican restaurant. Miago is Mexican, yes. I don't know. Miago, Mexican. Miago. I think it came from miagze actually, which miagze has to do with somebody who's just strange or kind of foreign to you. And I think that's where that word came from. Now, why we apply that to just Mexicans and we apply it to everybody? I mean, I don't know, because we already had a word for kind of like for white people, chimokman. And we had a word for the French, which was wimtagoji, which are the ones that carried the crosses. And so I suppose we have a word for black folks, kadauze. And usually that was just referring to being like, here she is black, like that. And then there's even a word for French people, and they were like, or not French people, but for Irish people, it was 1K joke, I think, something like that. And it's like ones who dig tunnels or canals. And I think that word comes from, I think a lot of the canals and things in New York. There's a lot of influx of Irish that came kind of in New York. I think they did a lot of manual labor, a lot of the tunnel digging. And so that's kind of maybe where that word came from. That's a good question. Now, I have heard, probably not. I'll tell you what, I can tell you what they say in Ojibwa for that. I'm trying to think what the proper word is. They call them tea drinking people. So like and their word for tea is a little different than ours because they say Nibishwabo. It almost sounds like beach to me, it's just water. But the word for leaf in Ojibwa is Nibish. And then wobble. So it's like, so we could say like Dakbuk wobble, leaf or tea people. But then again, when you're saying that, then you got to worry to yourself. Scan out. I don't know if that thing's still on. Are you talking about Chinese? Or are you talking about Japanese? Because both cultures drink a lot of tea, so it gets complicated. Then you also have to watch yourself with that. You don't want to stereotype people, but the problem is when you're real descriptive like that, like it's sometimes hard. You could just say Japanese, you can just say Chinese. That probably is the better way to go back. Because the word I heard one time for Arab had to do with like the ones that wrap like wrappings around their heads. That's kind of vague though. I mean, it could be, are we talking about like, we're talking about Saudi Arabians, or we're talking about, but there's Hindu people that wrap stuff around there. And so it gets a little bit confusing sometimes when you start getting into just Potawatomis wraps it. Exactly. We used to wrap the turbans around. So what I mean is it can get a little more complicated when you start, and you obviously you want to stick away from like I never really heard a real racially charged one, but yeah, you just gotta, it's complicated when it comes to descriptors. The French one's pretty easy because they were the ones that we first met that were bringing in like the crosses. That would seem pretty simple. Chimokman, the big knives, or the long knives, they had the sabers on their things. That makes sense to me. But I think when it comes to like with like Mexican people, I feel like we kind of maybe met them a little later on. I don't know what point, I mean, obviously we met the French first, along with the soldiers, and that would have been like the 1600s. I don't know when our first contact would have been with other groups, it's hard to tell. There's another word I've heard for like, I don't hear it very often, but it's like mishkat. And it has to do with like race, I think. I think I've heard like Wapshkia mishkat, like white race, or Zao mishkat, yellow race. Talk about like people in different directions. So again, that can get kind of complicated. So, I mean, it all depends what somebody recognizes. You can say anything somebody recognizes. Like if you were to always say, like, I'm going to use Miyago, let's just say for Chinese, or when I say Chinese restaurant, you always use that, then somebody would recognize that. Oh, yeah, he's talking about Chinese restaurant because we know he doesn't eat Mexican food or something. I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean? So it's all contextual in that way. Sometimes you can say rice place too, rice restaurant. That might be a good one. I mean, most Chinese restaurants would have rice, I think rice is pretty much a staple diet in most Chinese diets, and most Chinese restaurants would have rice. I like rice. I mean, I like rice a lot. So, I mean, obviously it's a staple for Anishinaabe people too. We have Manoman, but you could say white rice, and then it would be a little different. Instead of just Manoman, which Manoman would be more like our wild rice that we're used to, dark rice. But you said Wab Manoman, we Snowgabuk, the white rice restaurant. That would make a lot of sense to me, to be like a Chinese restaurant. Yeah. Good question. It's kind of deep. You didn't even realize it. Didn't realize it was getting deep in here. We should have known you were talking. That's a joke. What happened here? Okay, my screen share's paused. I guess because I didn't move it around. I don't know what happened. I swear I was just moving it, so. That's weird. So we're almost out of time though. Let's go to, we'll get to, let's see, we can end that. We can get to the end of this real quick, this little section. Gweejaway ne. Gweejaway ne. Gweejaway ne. Can I come along? Can I accompany you? Gweejaway ne. Gweejaway ne. That's a good one to ask somebody, like, hey, we're going, whatever. Hey, can I come with you? Kawijuele. Kawijuele. This one's funny. It always reminds me, this one always sounds a little bit like Lion King. Kawijuele, Kawijuele. There's a song in there. Na, 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 na. Anyway, Kawijuele. Kawijuele. It's weird, but if you can make weird associations with words, they actually will help lock in your mind easier. Kawijuele. Kawijuele. Konagane. Kawidebege. Konagane. Kawidebege. Yes, are you going to pay? Konagane. Kawidebege. Are you going to pay? Or you can just say, are you going to pay? You can say, Kawidebege. Kawidebege. Are you going to pay? Kawidebege. Or Konagane. Konagane. Kawidebege. Yes, are you going to pay? Joe. Nakekadasi Bokshka. I'm not rich, I'm broke. Chon kakadasi Bokshka. Chon kakadasi Bokshka. Bokshka is a great one. I love that word because it can mean different things. You can use it for like chair is broke and Bokshka, Egypt, and whatever. You can use it more slang to be like, I'm broke. Oh, Bokshka. Banashanam Bokshka. Or Kachimko Jesus, Babon Jesus. I'm always broke in December, or whatever. Bokshka. And then we got Kwetan Gadam Mizine on E Median. Kwetan Gadam Mizine on E Median. I could charge the food, perhaps. Kwetan or Ganabich Gadam Mizine on E Median. I could charge the food on my. And then Mizini comes from like Mizini, like a piece of paper. The word for charge is like you're putting it on the books, like old school ledger type. That's where that word comes from. Final, oh, that was the last one. Okay. So we'll stop with that one, I think, for today. I meant to do the script too, but I get away from myself. I apologize. I think we had some good, I think it's good that you guys tried using some of the language. Megwa, Yoyuk, Sebastian, Megwa, Waja, Minomishnah, the more that you use, which we're learning, the more you're going to sound better when talking the language. So that's good. Minishnah. Miigwech, Jayak, Chonkin, the Sindishmin, Megwa, Janaba, Majik, Ik, Iba, Seba, Bisuk. I don't know if there's still people on the line, but I'm sorry. I always think that's funny. I have to come up with a better word for the internet. I always say on the line. And I got that from this movie. I'm not gonna lie. It's called The Apprentice. I think it's called The Apprenticeship or something. Like these guys are, they're like 40-year-olds and they suddenly become apprentices at Google. And so they're not in with the lingo. And this guy's always saying like, he goes on the line. And they're like, you mean online? And I just thought that was funny. So now I'm always like, Seba Bisa. Seba Bisa is like a line or a thread. So on the line. Seba Bisa on the line. That's a funny movie, I think. I enjoy. I like Vince Vaughn. It's pretty fun. Okay, on the line. I got an LOL. Miigwech.